Monday the 14th today of February, Valentine's Day, and I'm currently packing my bag, and I realised this is the first time I've ever had to pack my bag with some prenatal vitamins. So I started taking a little while ago this one by No Nutrition. It's a chewable multivit kind of folic acid support, basically prenatal support and preconception support supplement. And it's really tasty. I wanted to get one that wasn't a pill because I sometimes really struggle with pills, and this one has worked out super well so far. So pleased I found this one. I've just packed a few of these for me on holiday, but yeah, it's the first time I've ever had to take these away with me somewhere. So it's February 22nd, it's the Monday, just been to have my blood test done. That was really good. Actually, the nurse was really good. I barely felt the needle go in, which was great. So those blood tests are done. I should get the results back either later today or tomorrow, although when I asked the nurse, she said to me that they'll only call me if there's something wrong. So if one of the results comes back positive, that we don't want to come back positive, like the hepatitis, all that stuff, or rubella. The only one I'm slightly nervous about is the rubella test, because I've got a test that I'm got resistance to rubella. Now, I did have my MMR vaccine when I was little, but a few years back, well, about 10 years ago actually, when I was really ill, I went to see an immunologist. My mum took me to see an immunologist, and she did some blood tests, and basically, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something along the lines of I'm not as immune to measles as I should be, so they were recommending I have a top-up vaccine, but at that point in time I was too ill to have any more vaccines, so that didn't happen. But they didn't say anything about rubella, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that one's okay. But when I was done with my blood test, I went to the desk. Obviously I needed to pay for this and everything, and I checked with the receptionist what the next steps were, because I was like, do I just now call up, like, if this is all okay, which hopefully it will be, am I good to go to just call up whenever my first day of my cycle? And she said, yeah, have you had your initial consultation with the nurse? And I went, no. So she said, oh, we need to do that like 7 to 10 days before treatment starts. I'm going, okay, but what day does treatment start? It's been really difficult to find out what day treatment starts, because if you remember, I think I told you, I phoned up the clinic back before I went to Greece last week to say, like, is it cycle day 1? Do I need to have this done like 7 to 10 days before my period starts? What is it? And I couldn't really get a clear answer. So anyway, I said to them today, well, my period's due next week, and the first scan I have to have done is around day 7 of my cycle, which will be the week after, so 2 weeks away. So she said, oh, let's have a look. And one of the other people that was working there said, oh, just book her in. Don't wait for the blood test, just book her in for the next one. So my consultation with the nurse is now happening tomorrow. So thankfully I double checked that and I did push. But if I hadn't done, I'm not sure, I think I might have missed the cycle. So that was something I wanted to point out. I have noticed that with my clinic, I don't know if this is all of them, but just with mine, I do kind of need to be on the ball with what's happening. They sent me a list of like the next steps and things, but I've had to kind of like make sure I know what they are and push them and go, okay, I've had this done. At what point do I need this next thing? I've had this done. What do I do next with this? And make sure I've kept on top of it. Otherwise, like I said, I might have missed the cycle. So fingers crossed, tomorrow's, I'm saying fingers crossed a lot in this video, I'm sure. Hopefully tomorrow's consultation goes well and I'll update you then. I really did not feel great this morning. I took my prenatal vitamin that I had been taking for the last few days first thing this morning, which is the first time I've done that before I'd had breakfast. And I instantly felt really nauseous, and I think it's the zinc that's in that, because zinc always makes me feel really sick. But there's a little enough of it in that when I've had food, it's fine, but yeah, not feeling good about that. But anyway, I had my nurse consultation just over the phone this morning. It was about 10 minutes long. She was basically just explaining to me what the process for the IUI was, what the next steps were. So basically, as long as my blood tests, they still haven't come back yet, but as long as they come back normal, which hopefully they should, then we're good to go next round. So the next step really is I need to call up the clinic on the first day of my period to book in a scan for somewhere between day 7 and day 9 of my cycle, and then at that point they'll decide whether I need another scan or whether I just call them up when I get a positive ovulation test. And what she said was, if I get a positive ovulation test in the morning, they'll do it the next day before noon. And if I get a positive ovulation test in the evening, they'll do it the next day in the afternoon. So basically like 24 hours from when you get the positive. So I had to test more every 12 hours, so morning and evening basically. So that's fine, I've already been doing that anyway. I also went through like the procedure with her. I asked, is it going to be in the consulting room or is it going to be in the theatre? And she said it would be in theatre. And they made some notes because I found the speculum really painful last time, so he kind of only was able to open it just a little bit, but the doctor who did it was still able to do the procedure, get the catheter through, which is what they've got to do this time. And so I said if they could just make a note of that, to use a small speculum and to be careful with that, and also to push the sperm in as slowly as they can, as is okay to do, because I had dire cramps with the saline solution, and she said, yeah, that's fine too, she's just going to make a note. What I haven't managed to work out yet is it didn't sound like they make you lie down afterwards, and I've been reading all about people saying, no, you need to lie down for 10 minutes after the IUI, it increases your chance of success, so I'm a bit worried that they might not do that, and whether that's going to affect my chances or anything, but I mean, I felt a bit lightheaded after my last procedure, so I had to stay lying down anyway, so it might be that I just still lie down anyway, I don't know, but yeah, at the moment that's the only thing that's kind of like, oh, I'm not sure, but yeah, as of right now, we're all a go for this cycle, so exciting. So I'm actually really gutted. I feel really silly for crying because this is really not like a massive thing, but my blood test results came back and all the like virology results were fine. They were negative as I fully expected them to be, but my thyroid and my rubella, as expected, they came back, well, not expected as I hoped they wouldn't, but I had a feeling that the rubella one might come back negative, and it has. I had my MMR, but I've got absolutely no antibodies to it, so I have to get an MMR jab, or at least the rubella jab, before I can have treatment. I have to wait at least 4 weeks, so that's going to take me out of March. I literally just 30 minutes ago paid for my treatment, so I don't really know what to do now. Well, they'll either have to refund me or just, that basically means I can't do anything till May, which I'm really gutted about because obviously it means I'm going to have my March period and my April period and my May period, so another 3 periods before I can actually do anything. It's an extra 2 periods basically than I would have done. I would have had to have this period and then the next 2, but just didn't want to wait that long. It's really, I mean, I know I'm upset now. I'll get over it in like an hour or so and just be like, well, that's that. I wasn't sure to begin with. I think I talked about this. I was debating whether or not to skip March and April anyway, but the problem now is if I go on the pill, which I did speak to the doctor, she said, yeah, you can go straight back on the pill if you want to, but if I remember from my last time when I first started the pill, it took a few months to kick in anyway to stop my periods, and that's the only thing that stops the pain, so it doesn't feel like it's worth it just for those 2 months. I'd rather keep my periods regular. I guess this is just the unpredictability of fertility treatment. It sucks. It's funny, I've always seen other like fertility people on Instagram and YouTube going through fertility talk about how they find out bad news in moments when they've in between at work and when they've got to do things, and I've got to have a work call in literally 2 minutes now, and I mean, this isn't even particularly bad, it's just upsetting, but I'm like, I don't want to move it because if I move it I've got to explain why I've had this phone call, and but I also am not telling anyone I'm doing this other than my closest friends and family, so it's a bit rubbish right now. It's the next day now and I'm feeling a bit better about things. I was actually quite taken aback by how distraught I was yesterday. I think it was made worse because I'd had that nurse's phone call in the morning, kind of going through the whole routine and what the next steps were, and like, you need to call us on day 1 of your cycle, which is like in a week's time, less than a week's time now. So it was kind of like really coming close and I was all ready to go, and then I paid for the treatment and then got the phone call being like, sorry, this your blood test has come back and there's an issue and we have to wait now. So it was just really gutting to hear that. I think in some ways knowing that there was a chance that my rubella might be an issue kind of helped, because to be honest, even if that hadn't been an issue, the thyroid thing would have completely caught me off guard. I wasn't even aware they were testing for that. And that also means I couldn't start this particular cycle. You have to be on that medication for 3 weeks before you can do treatment on that one. So both of them have delayed it. Even if the rubella had been fine, I still would have been put off by the thyroid stuff. But it's just super annoying for me as well, because when I was growing up, like in my teens, I was really ill and I was constantly having blood tests. Like, I used to joke I felt like a pin cushion, because there was so many times I was being jabbed with needles, having blood taken from me, etc., like trying to figure out what was wrong, and they were always coming back saying, there's nothing wrong, blood tests are all fine, etc. And then we needed them to be like, no, actually this is the problem, not everything's fine. And this was the one time where I actually really needed my blood test to be like, okay, everything's fine, and instead Mother Nature was just like, I'm gonna give you 2 problems. So that just kind of sucks. And I don't know why I was so confident that it would go right this time, when I've had like numerous health problems in the past and there's always something that comes up. But I just think I was feeling a bit naive and thinking that, because this is something I really want, to have a baby, that it would all be fine this time. But Anyway, once I kind of got over the sadness, I started to feel better about it and started to actually put in, you know, the practical steps I needed to get to the next point. So I phoned the GP up yesterday after I had that phone call, booked my rubella jab. That's happening tomorrow, and apparently you feel really rough afterwards, so that's going to be fun. And I also they sent out the prescription for my thyroid medication yesterday, and it came through this morning, so I actually already have been to the pharmacy to pick it up. It's in this little bag. I was a bit worried actually, because I'm going obviously at a private clinic, and this was a private prescription that they sent me, and it looks a bit weird. It looked like it's just like a regular an A4 piece of paper with some writing on it saying private prescription and what it was. But I took it to the pharmacy. They said I could take it to a pharmacy, so I took it to my one, and they did it, and I only had to pay the NHS prescription fee, which is like £9.35 or something on it, so that was good too, because I was worried that that might be really expensive, because I didn't know if it was fall under the NHS thing or what have you. But you know, just for future reference, if you're going through it and you need the thyroid medication, this was covered by the NHS, so that was great. So that I'm going to start today, and then obviously my rubella shot is tomorrow. And on a slightly more positive note, I realised that, so when I was speaking to the nurse, when she called me about the blood test results, I was really sad. And my plan had always been to, when I finally made the decision, as I said earlier on in this video, I talked about whether or not I wanted to start I didn't want to start till May and miss March and April because of how close they were to Christmas, or whether I'd just do March and then skip April and go to May. And in the end, I decided I would do that. I would do my March cycle. If that didn't work, skip April and then go to May. But because it got cancelled, my March cycle has obviously been cancelled, that will mean I have to wait till May, which is an extra 2 periods, and that was really worrying to me. So I was thinking, well, actually, when I spoke to the nurse, she said, you know, I could do my April cycle. It didn't have to be till May, because if I had my rubella done within 4 weeks, that's before my... So you have to, from the time you have the rubella shot, you have to wait 4 weeks before you can start treatment. Because it's a live virus, they have to give it time to kick in, and then the virus to actually wear off. So having that tomorrow means that it will be done before my next cycle starts, which is due, depending on when this period starts and when I'll ovulate next month, etc. It's due around the 29th of March. So end of March basically, so that means my IUI would be in sort of mid-April. So I've emailed the clinic back just to confirm to them, could I do it in April? And I worked out, based off of when I would be due to start my period and kind of like when my rough due date would be, that it actually wouldn't be until 3rd of January. So if I went overdue, then I'd be giving birth kind of mid-January, which would be fine. And if I was early, then yeah, it would be around Christmas time. But I worked out that my March cycle, if I was late, it would also be kind of mid-December and close to Christmas time anyway. So I don't know why I'm so hung up on this. It feels like a silly thing to be hung up on when you're trying to go through this. And also, it's a very good chance it's not going to work the first time. So I decided that I was going to give in and say, yeah, actually, I'm going to do my April cycle. So that's the plan I've made. So I'm not going to have to wait another 2 months. I'm only going to have to wait for March, use it as a time to sort of start taking the medication, have my rubella shot, and then be ready to go for April. So that's made me feel a bit better too, not having to wait quite so long for it. And I'm very happy with that decision that I've made too. I don't think I properly factored in kind of how all-encompassing this stuff is. I always knew it would be tricky, but I was planning to kind of be as relaxed about this as possible, just kind of try it, see what happens, and if it works, it works, if it doesn't, it doesn't. But as I go through this, because it's so intensive and you need to do so much, and like you get so invested in it, it's impossible to be that kind of blasé about it. Like this is one of the biggest decisions you make in your life, I think, whether or not you want to become a parent. And when you've decided that you do, coming away from that decision, or I haven't even tried to get pregnant yet. I don't even know if I can. I might be doing all this and it might not work, and that's something I'm having to kind of like get my brain ready for, because I don't think I'd realised just how draining it was. Even though I'm trying to stay like, we're just going to see what happens, it's really difficult. So that's one thing I'm kind of discovering as I go through this journey. But on the other hand, if I do get a foster placement within the next couple of weeks, it would be better to have it at this point rather than for when I am going through my II process. So it might work out better for that. Who knows? Maybe this is meant to be. But yeah, it sucks at the moment. It's really frustrating. But I'm going to start my medication, have this shot, and then fingers crossed, we'll be all good to go for April. I just got another email from my patient coordinator. So I sent her that list of like, can I just confirm like 4 weeks after this, I can start my April cycle, etc. She's just come back saying she double checked with the nurse and confirmed I'll need my first rubella jab on 24th February, then wait 4 weeks and have a second jab after that, and then I have to wait 4 weeks from that date again. So April is out, basically. May is the closest time I can do this. I'm not as devastated as I was yesterday. I think hearing that this month wasn't going to happen was like the hard bit, but then I was kind of working towards, well, it's just another 4 weeks and then that cycle, but hearing that it's like I need at least 8 weeks before I can start anything again, that's really difficult, because that's another 3 periods before I can even get started, and I don't know if there's any way I might speak to the nurse tomorrow actually. I don't know if there's any way I can stop my periods before that, but then that's going to mess up my cycles, and I'm just like, oh, just dragging on. It just really sucks. It's not 4 weeks now, it's 8 weeks. Okay, so I'm a bit confused now. It's been like, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes, whatever, since I had that email. I emailed her back because the email my patient coordinator sent definitely said the nurse had said 2, but I'm pretty sure that the doctor yesterday said just 1, like a booster dose. So as it happened yesterday, after I had that news, I went and I posted on like my single mothers group that I'm a part of now, and just saying how upset, frustrating it was, had these delays and that kind of thing. And some other people commented they'd been in the same boat. And I read back through the comments because a couple of others had been in the similar boat with rubella. And I'm pretty sure they're only talking about having 1 dose, like 1 shot, a booster shot. So I just went back to my patient coordinator saying, can you please double check this? Because I'm sure the doctor yesterday said I was good to go in April if I had it now, because it would be 4 weeks. She definitely said 4 weeks. I remember that. 4 weeks from then you can go. Didn't say anything about 2 doses, like being 8 weeks. And yeah, so, and I've had my MMR jabs as a child, so that's why I was like, surely it's just a booster. So yeah, we'll see what she comes back and says. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that maybe it's just an issue because they asked the nurse, not the doctor, and I was like, maybe it got lost in translation. I've already had some doses before, so just want to absolutely triple check that. So I don't know whether to say I've not lost all hope yet about being able to go ahead in April, but I'm like, it's still fuzzy, and that's just as frustrating in a way, not being able to be clear cut. But I've asked some of the others in the group if they had to have 2 or 1, so I'll see what people get back to me with that. But it's just like, oh, this toing and froing. It's so important I had the rubella shot, because rubella is really nasty to get if you're pregnant. It's really dangerous to unborn baby, so it has to be done, I know, but it's like 8 weeks suddenly feels like an eternity, which is crazy, because when I started this journey, when I made the actual like final decision, yes, I want to do this, it was September last year, September 2021. That's when I told my mum this is what I was planning. And when I told her, I was saying, when I turn 25, that's when I'm going to start trying for a baby. And I don't turn 25 until this summer, until July, it's my birthday. But after I told her, I kind of was like, oh, why am I wanting to wait? Actually, I really want to get going. And then it was like, I'll do it in the new year. And then it was, oh no, I'll do it earlier. I'll call the doctor before in November. And it's just like, so the irony is it may end up being like when I'm actually 25 after all this. But in the end, I came off my pill the end of December. So from the new year, I decided that's when I was going to do things. And in fairness, it's been moving pretty quick since then. This is just something kind of unforeseen. But it's crazy how originally I was planning like for it to be 10 months away, and now 8 weeks just feels like a lifetime. And I think also it's the periods that worry me, because they are just so unpredictable about pain levels and just so interfering with my life that I'm like, I don't want to go through that unless I have to. But if it's 8 weeks, it's 8 weeks. Just have to accept that. But I'm just gonna see what they come back to me saying, and if it's actually, oh, that's a mistake, sorry, you just need 1, then brilliant. And I will ask the nurse tomorrow to confirm what she says, and then I can always go back to the clinic just saying, can they confirm that? Yeah, we'll see, I guess. I don't know. This is I was crying again because it's just an emotional roller coaster, and we're not even there yet in trying to get pregnant. God knows what I'll be like if I get to the IUIs and then they don't work, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess. But it's just like, at the moment, felt like I'd done so well, and now I've hit these hurdles, so yeah. Well, I was about to film an update, and then it literally just started hailing. Look at that. Honestly, look at it all. Can't remember the last time we had a hailstorm over here. Oh, what a mess. So, I heard back from my patient coordinator this morning after I sent the email last night asking her to clarify if I did need 2 jabs or 1, because I'm sure the doctor who I first spoke to said 1, and then the nurse, she confirmed my treatment timetable, it said I needed 2. So I said to her, I've had 2 MMR jabs, do I need just one booster or do I still have to have two? Anyway, she did come back to me this morning confirming it's only one, which is good. So it means I can go ahead with April. I don't have to wait 8 weeks, I only have to wait 4, which thank God for that. On the other hand, however, it is currently the 24th of February. And for those watching in the future who might not remember this, this is the day that Russia basically invaded Ukraine officially. So it's a really odd feeling today of being like happy that my treatment can go ahead, and also really sad because, you know, the future's very uncertain. I feel really bad for the people of Ukraine and the Russians who don't want this to happen. That awful man that started this whole thing. And it's just like, there is no certainty in life, I guess, but it's times like this where you're like, is there going to be a great war, that you really start thinking, should I even be doing this? But, you know, there's so many, as I said, uncertainties. We've had COVID. I think if you wait for the perfect time, you'll be waiting forever. So I'm definitely still wanting to go ahead with treatment. And when I found out it was only going to be 4 weeks, I was really relieved about that. Although I had discovered that there was a pill I could go on to stop my periods right up until I wanted to start treatment. So that made me feel a bit better about it. But I'm still glad that it can be not as long a wait as I thought it might be. But yeah, it's a bit of an odd day. It's also been hailing and sunny and snowing and hailing on and off, so very fitting weather for the mood, I think. But yeah, I've got to have my jab later and hopefully that all goes okay. I am jabbed and done, so we're all good to go. So it is March 21st today. I can't remember when I last updated you, but last week I messaged my clinic to ask about whether or not I need to have this blood test done for my thyroid before I can do my first IUI round, and I got an automated email back. I messaged my patient coordinator, and I got an automated email back telling me that she was off until this week, so today's her first day working back. Haven't heard from her yet, but I'm gonna just chase her up this evening and hopefully I'll get a response tomorrow. Sorry about the noise from the dishwasher in the background. I'm just trying to grab time where I can, because in other news, I have a hosteling now. I'm not sure how long they're going to be with me. This could be a very, very short placement. Obviously, I can't go into details about them. But, so I'm currently running around doing that and trying to work out how I'm going to fit in this fertility stuff in between. But at this moment in time, I just want to find out what's going on with this blood test and if I can get started, because my period's due next week, literally a week today. So if I am going to be doing an IUI next cycle, then I kind of need to know. So it is March 25th today, and I had my blood test done yesterday. I did hear back from my patient coordinator, and she told me you do need to have your TSH levels tested again. So I booked that for yesterday, which was Thursday, and I had it in the morning at about 11 a.m. and about 4 o'clock the doctor called me to say, just to tell you that the results still haven't come through on the system, so I'll get them to call you back tomorrow, which I did. So I got a call about half an hour ago. It's now 3:45, and the doctor basically said to me, what's happened is my TSH levels have now come back at 0.7, so they've slightly overcorrected me, and they need to give me a lower dose of levothyroxine. I've got 50 milligrams now. She's going to prescribe me the 25 because clearly the 50 is too much. So before, my numbers were like 3.2 or something, and they want to keep it under 3, between 1 and 3, and now 0.7, so we've gone too far the other way. But I asked her, does that mean I can't do my IUI with my next cycle, or will I be able to go ahead? And she said, no, that's fine. You can still go ahead with your IUI next cycle. So that's now, like, I've been given the green light, because that was the last blood test I was waiting for. Now that one, I guess it's not come back as normal, but she said that the medication will very quickly correct it, so I don't need to wait for it to kick in like I needed to wait for my rubella to have 4 weeks before I could try again. So my period's due on Tuesday next week. It's Friday today. And yeah, I'm good to go, and I'm starting to feel a bit excited now. I think like this week and the week before, honestly, I've just been feeling so like, and like, am I sure I want to do this? Like, is this really the right time? Maybe I don't want to go through this. And I think it was just because I was so worried about these blood results coming back being like not fine, and that's stopping my next IUI cycle. I didn't want to like psych myself up to do it in case they came back and it was not good. And even though they haven't come back perfect, it's not something that's going to stop this IUI from going ahead. So now that I'm like, okay, I'm good to go with this next cycle, I'm like, oh, actually, I'm starting to feel a bit more excited again. But anyway, I'm keeping my voice down a little bit because I have actually got a fosterling at the moment who I'm right in the middle of doing transitions for them moving on. So they should move before my period starts, which will be good. So fingers crossed everything goes ahead all right from this point on.